People in the courtroom are on the edge of their seats as murder suspect Billy Woodward takes the stand.
I put more bullets into his body because he was still alive, sir.
Coldly admitting he shot and killed his neighbors Gary Hembry and Roger Pichor.
And I engaged his torso with multiple rounds.
But this isn't testimony at the murder trial. Woodward asked for a special court hearing to determine whether he can claim immunity from prosecution under Florida's controversial Stand Your Ground law. That means if you're in fear of serious bodily injury, you have the right to stand your ground and defend your life. Despite admitting he pumped 31 bullets into his victims, slithering across the driveway in what he calls a military-type attack, Woodward is saying he acted in self-defense. Gary's stepdad, Willie, is livid.
The only thing I could say that you could stand your ground if you maybe you have to protect yourself, you have to shoot somebody, but you don't shoot 31 times. That's not standing your ground anymore. That's a slaughter. That's a massacre.
The killings rocked the tight-knit neighborhood in Titusville, Florida, across the river from the Kennedy Space Center. It was the end of a holiday party at Gary's house, and cops say Woodward gunned down his victims at close range. Woodward's own surveillance camera recorded his pumping 31 rounds into Gary and Roger, and their neighbor Tim Blake, who survived. Gary's girlfriend Kim frantically calls 911.
They shot and killed my boyfriend, you
Woodward tells the judge he killed in self-defense, claiming he overheard Gary planning to kill him and his family. He says he became concerned when he saw something burning across the street, thinking Gary was lighting Molotov cocktails to throw at his house.
They were now coming to the house to dispatch with myself, my wife, and my children. And at that point, yes, that was the point I had to take action because I could not let my children die.
But in this picture, the last ever taken of Gary, he's burning palm fronds, not Molotov cocktails. Woodward is a disabled Army vet. He says he developed PTSD from serving in the First Gulf War. His dramatic testimony sounds like a soldier's description of a combat zone, explaining why he fired so many bullets.
Does a single soldier leave a viable enemy behind him?
You cannot, sir, because that enemy will get up and shoot you in the back. No, my military training has never left me. I was trained as a soldier. I turned that corner, and I engaged my first target.
I don't even think about him as a person. It's just a name. It's just a face I see.
The surveillance video shows Woodward in full camouflage, crawling across his lawn like it is a battlefield, sneaking up on Gary's party.
Is that where you were at that point in time? Were you in war?
You doggone right I was. War had been declared upon my house and family and myself. Now I'm the only living link between my wife and children in imminent death. Do you not understand that, sir?
Woodward says he started what he calls his mission to Gary's house after he heard a loud bang. He claims it sounded like an aluminum baseball bat, and he thought the partygoers were about to use the bat on him.
So you weren't just shooting them because they were harassing your family?
No, sir.
You weren't just shooting them because they were saying nasty things about you and your family?
No, sir, that's not a reason to shoot anyone.
Okay. Why is it that you acted?
Because I heard them say, let's get together and do this. Grab your weapons, let's go.
Gary's family and friends deny he was brandishing a bat, and while they admit they sometimes cracked jokes at Woodward's expense, they say they never threatened him. Cops say Woodward used a 9mm Beretta to shoot the three men. Woodward testified when he approached Gary, he thought he had a weapon in his hand, but after he killed him, he learned it was something more innocent.
And I engage him with one shot to the chest, center mass. He falls to the ground and I rapidly move to his body and engage his body with multiple shots to make sure he cannot have what is in his hand.
Did you learn at that point what was in his hand?
After the fact, a coffee mug, sir.
Woodward says after shooting the 3 men, he went back home and waited for the police.
And I walked back to my house, and someone asked me, "Did you get them all?" And that's when I yelled, "Yes, I got them all." And I walked back up into my yard after taking off my jacket. I walked back up to retrieve my keys from their hiding place, knowing that the 3 males were no longer a threat. I found them. And when I heard sirens, I was at peace, because now the police were here, and they could help me sort this out. And I could tell them what happened. And I could tell them that everything was finally over.
But would the court buy that argument? Was this a case of a man standing his ground? Or was he exacting revenge on neighbors he thought were taunting him?
I believe that in Billy's mind at that point in time that the threat was imminent. I believe that violence would have erupted from their side and sort of the mob mentality would have taken over.
In a 15-page ruling, the judge denied his claim of immunity from prosecution, saying Woodward decided to preemptively strike at his victims at a moment when it was entirely unnecessary to do so, and when they were entirely unaware of his presence. Woodward will stand trial on 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of first-degree attempted murder. It's especially hard for Gary's mother, Jeannie. All she has left are pictures, memories of a son she misses terribly.
Especially in a murder, you can't move on because it's almost 4 years later. We haven't even had the trial. You know, you have to have some kind of closure, right? You're supposed to have justice.
Now, Billy Woodward's admissions in court could come back to haunt him. The prosecution will now be able to use those at times bizarre statements against him during the murder trial. The only thing working in his favour right now, the prosecution took the death penalty off the table. If he's convicted, he could get life in prison.